Hey guys, I'm Adam Cesare. This is the Project Black T-shirt YouTube show, or whatever we're gonna call it. For those of you who don't know me, I write novels, novellas, short stories, screenplays sometimes, but I really love movies and I really love film, and a lot of my books have to do with film. And I usually have time to write up my thoughts on movies, DVD releases, Blu-ray releases, on my blog or on other websites. But I figured I'd try coming directly to YouTube, maybe save myself some carpal tunnel syndrome, talk to the camera a little bit about movies that I've really liked that have come out recently. So each episode, hopefully trying to get them up weekly. We're going to talk about one movie, and then I'm going to suggest a book to pair with that movie because I'm the literacy guy. The name Project Black T-shirt comes from a joke that my friend and a really great writer, Jeremy Robert Johnson, once made at a convention when he was talking about horror fans as the black t-shirt crowd, which I thought was very funny and kind of self-deprecating. But of course, I'm wearing a black t-shirt. So this is Fright Rags, back when they did a limited run of Stephen King covers, original Stephen King covers. It's a Pet Sematary shirt, but when I'm out at bars or going to the grocery store, people just tell me they like the kitty on my shirt. Today we're going to be talking about The Guardian. Brand new on Blu-ray from Scream Factory, a subsidiary of Shout Factory. A lot of horror fans, everyone's going to be familiar with that company and what they do and the good work they're kind of doing getting movies out that haven't had proper releases or haven't had proper releases in a while, filling them with good features. This is one of their catalog releases, so it's not one of their big special editions where they do new art for the cover, but I actually prefer this original poster art, VHS art. I think it looks really cool. This is a film I didn't know a lot about going into. Usually with catalog releases, it's either a movie I've seen, or I've seen pieces of, or I've heard of, and looking forward to. So this was a little bit of a blind buy for me. And the reason it was a blind buy is because it's directed by William Friedkin. I'm sure a lot of you know William Friedkin, director of The Exorcist. He won the Academy Award for French Connection. More recently, he's made Killer Joe and Bug, which are two adaptations of Tracy Letts plays. So the guy's only made good movies, basically, until you check out The Guardian. Which is a really strange movie, and I don't mean to make it sound bad because it's not a bad film. It just does not seem like the kind of movie when you're watching it, you're like, oh, the director of The Exorcist and The French Connection made this movie in 1990 that really feels like. And I texted my friend right after watching this, and I said, have you ever seen The Guardian? He said, he's a book guy like me. He said, yeah, but he couldn't remember anything about it. And I said, it's basically a zebra paperback, which are the, cheapo horror paperbacks of the 90s and 80s. I said, it's basically a zebra paperback put to film. And it's not really surprising that The Guardian was based on a book by Dan Greenberg. And if you watch the special features afterwards, if you watch the interview that they have on there with Friedkin admits he never read the book. He said he glanced at it once or twice. And this movie feels like someone who did read the book. It feels like someone who slavishly adapted a late 80s, not so good horror thriller to the screen pretty literally. It's hard to drive home what a weird movie this is, not only because of its A-list director, but because just generally, it seems like every 15 minutes in the movie, it'll be this kind of a little bit dry, a little bit fakey looking late 80s, early 90s melodrama, kind of like a Fatal Attraction or a Hand That Rocks the Cradle, even though that was a little later. It seems like one of those kinds of movies, a movie that would, kind of fly under the radar with a PG-13 rating, a little bit of nudity, a little bit of sex, until you get to these weird punctuations of insane violence and insane gore work. There's one of the craziest out of left field bicycle disasters filmed very, very well by Friedkin. That is the first act of violence in the movie, and it jolts you alert. And then, like clockwork, like I said, every 15 minutes, crazier and crazier happens until at the end you have a character fighting a living tree, kind of Evil Dead style, with a chainsaw. And as he's cutting the tree is bleeding. And as the tree is bleeding, it's corresponding to the antagonist, the druid lady, pieces of her exploding bloody chunks all over. It's a really, really cool scene. In an otherwise unremarkable movie, but it's hard to call the movie unremarkable if it has all this really good material. And in the features, if you get this Blu-ray, which I really do recommend because it's just a gonzo movie, Friedkin kind of talks about how this movie was a favor to an ex-agent, a guy he respected, and the guy wanted to get this movie made, so Friedkin made the movie. It's a lesser film, but it's just a weird footnote in a great director's career. So it not only appeals to the black t-shirt crowd, the weirdos like me who like this kind of crowd, but it probably really appeals to the Criterion Collection people, because the people that love Sorcerer or Friedkin's loftier, headier films are probably going to want to see this to be completionists. They're going to want to see what he was doing in the early 90s, doing very weird practical effects with rapists getting impaled by tree limbs and having their head knocked off by tree limbs, having a druid lady send wolves inexplicably after architects. It's a really, really weird movie, and I'm imagining it plays well with the crowd. Okay, so that's The Guardian. I didn't even really say what it was about. It's about a young upper middle class couple that hires a nanny, and she winds up being the nanny from hell. Actually, she's the nanny from Druid Hell because she's some kind of weird tree witch lady. We're not really sure what her powers are, even through the entire movie. And she wants to take their baby. They recently have a newborn baby. It's going to switch over somehow from mother's milk to having a different type of blood, which is a hallmark of these kinds of schlocky horror plots, I feel like, where we're going to pseudo-science our way into making a fairy tale real. Somehow something switches over in the baby's blood, his antibodies, and it makes him delicious to druids. So that's the plot. With The Guardian, I'm going to pair a much better example of 80s paperback nostalgia. Michael McDowell's The Amulet. This is a book that has a kind of a cult following. My copy is really, really beat up, but when I read this, I didn't even read this version of it. I read the Valancourt ebook. I think they have it out now. McDowell is a really interesting guy because I think he either wrote or co-wrote the script to Beetlejuice. He did a lot of film work after his novel work, but he kind of doesn't get the respect he deserves. It's one of those things where if you read the back, it sounds kind of like a very rudimentary, boilerplate horror plot, a cursed amulet being passed around. But you have so many characters and you have such a history with this cursed item that it really is like this amazing panorama. It does feel like a real novel, even though it's got that wonderful horror paperback look to it. It really does feel like something that's going to last, and I'm glad that Valancourt brought the new edition back out. There we go. That's The Guardian, a very, very crazy 1990 movie by William Friedkin, out now from Scream Factory. I highly, highly suggest, if anything that I've said, exploding heads knocked off by tree limbs, crazy wolves eating an architect, all these different things, if they sound like the thing that's up your alley, you should check out this. And while you're at it, if you're looking for a good read, I would recommend The Amulet by Michael McDowell.